kindly welcome in Europe. You got it, yes, this bunch of sunny land, these wild bushes and brambles, this salty breeze, this hugging gulf are deeply European. And these people of the upper Adriatic make or more eating, breathing, feeling Europe. And I don't mean simply the Union, but the heritage we received, consciously or not, from 15 centuries of ethnic, cultural, and linguistic contact. Here lives the truly authentic meaning of this old and tired continent, its spiritual value, such as its drama. Just try to imagine, we are literally standing on the Adriatic, 1 foot on the Balkans, down the river Danube to the Black Sea, to Constantinople, or by the Venetian sailorways over Istria and Dalmatia, down to Corinth, Athens, Crete, Cyprus. The other foot on the Italian boot. Venice, Padova, Firenze, Bologna, 'cause all roads, as we know, lead to Rome. Behind our back, continental Middle Europe. Vienna, Budapest, Krakow. A drafty borderland that leads anywhere and both nowhere, a known place, where everyone passes but only few stops. Our Shibuya crossing. You can see widely from this big European crossroad at least 3 neighbors in a single glance: Italy, Slovenia, and Croatia. 3 or 4 landscapes: Pannonian Plain, the Alps, the Balkans, and the Mediterranean. 3 cultural isles: Slavic, Romance, and German. The great history painted in the background. After 600 years of Habsburg, the short 20th century, with its imperialistic nationalisms, the zones of front, Nazi-fascist regimes, concentration camps, Allied soldiers, Yugoslav partisans, the Iron Curtain, passports, special permits for border crossing to visit simply your family, to return home, to farm, to survive, endless queues behind exhausted Romanian truck drivers, intelligence services, propaganda, rifles, traders and smugglers, dealers, traders, always one step ahead, capitalism or socialism. Crafty gamblers, winners, losers, heroes and martyrs, perpetrators, of course, to each his own, because nobody's hands are clean. Till today, every day, migrants finally arriving somewhere in this northern Lampedusa, after months or years from Pakistan, Afghanistan, Syria, on the Balkan route. I know things are complicated here, but that's what it looks like, our Diversity Festival. If those aren't priorities, what are? The point I will shortly spoke about is today valid like the snows of yesteryear. It is, so to speak, a matter for archaeologists, somehow prehistoric. I myself am a 30 years old dinosaur. This is what happens if you talk about forgotten communities that more or less resist to melt in the pot of globalism. The ethnic, cultural, and linguistic minority groups. An underground, maybe impossible resistance that looks like a partisan movement or like a mission. Be aware, this is a wet floor. Identity, especially the national one, is claimed as an ideological topic by one part as his exclusive right, the right-wing identitarians, and from the other, the left-wing internationalists, repelled as bloody fruit flies. Both are unjust to the descendants of Europa, the Phoenician princess, goddess mother of Crete's King Minos and consort of Zeus. In this continent where huge diversities are stuffed in a miniature territory, communities, cultures, and languages always exceed borders and inevitably contacts, crashes and crosses each other. Right here, where ethnic minorities live, in Europe's inner boundaries, we make wars or peace, then and now. Just think about the Sudeten crisis in 1938, about the pogroms in Tsarist Russia, about the genocide of the Armenians in today's Turkey, the Holocaust of Jews, not to mention the Balkans in the 90s. Still the same in today's Ukraine war. I repeat, the minorities are the ground, the causal agent, or just the excuse for wars or peace. Denationalization, or more precisely, the erasure of minority identities, continues to harm and hurt, maybe even stronger than in past, at least in 3 steps: historical fascism, communist internationalism, and recently, consuming globalism. Names are changing, but not the substance. Inclusion is today's name of the nationalization, the ideological instrument of this melting globalism that harms the small in favor of the big, to reward the big. This request of adaptation seems to say that the small ones have to be somehow adjusted, adapted, altered, to be somehow normalized. This isn't just for the minorities, but for Europe itself, born to help the weak, the different, the small, giving them the right to remain different. Equal treatment, not equality, is what minorities need, the right to be different. The political geographer from Trieste, Milan Buffon, recently defined the peculiarities of the identity erasure we are facing with 3 metaphors. First, we are melting as an ice cube in the sun, specifically in sparsely populated regions, caused partially by assimilation and consistently by emigration, as for example in Friuli and Slavia. Secondly, we are melting as a cafe latte, in particular where urban population moves in nearby hinterland, watering down the autochthonous groups, for example, in the Trieste district. Last, we are melting as a sugar cube, where overwhelming ethnic mixing causes the reduction of autochthonous identity models until they completely disappear in city centers such as Trieste and Gorizia. So we have to ask, I think, so what to do, what now? And here are some small proposals. First, be curious about the nearby other between us and often in ourselves. And pay attention, everyone is the other for the other. Second, turn around the idea that tradition is old-fashioned, exclusionary, reactionary, even fascist. On the contrary, this inherited tradition is progressive if just humanly managed. Minorities are our European wild thought. Third, who is nowhere at home can't be anywhere home. You can write about emperors and popes, but you are making tribalism. You can write about hayracks, factories, and windmills, but you are a man of the word. Fourth, rooted cosmopolitanism. This is what I am willing. Being deeply seated in the culture we inherited and equally opened to and for the white otherness. Basically, the literary recipe by the 2 great Slovenian writers from Trieste, Alois Rebula and Boris Pahor. And finally, fifth, restart Europe from its forgotten communities and overlooked values. Words against fists, dialogue against violence, culture against hate, temperance against fervor, diplomacy against army, participation against supremacy, human being before the state, democracy, however, books, not shotguns. What a great example of European synergy you are. So again, welcome home, the European home you are willing to create, working together, uniting diversities.